welcome everyone to this next episode of Embodied Integrative Healing. I'm Jordan, and today we have a special guest, Andrea, who's going to talk with us today. Thanks for coming, Andrea.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So Andrea, we'll just tell a little bit about Andrea. So she's the founder of Hensley Haven, which is a space devoted to helping women reconnect with themselves through nature, movement, and holistic healing. She has a background in health and nutrition coaching, personal training, yoga, intuitive healing, and Reiki. And she weaves together science, spirituality, and lived experience to create a grounded, heart-centered experiences. Her intention is simple: to hold safe, nurturing spaces where women can slow down, remember who they are, and return home to themselves. So thanks so much for being here, Andrea.
Of course.
Yeah. So, what I always like to do when we start off an interview is just kind of talk about healing, just in general, because we both work with healing and helping people heal, and sometimes it's just nice to kind of talk about what does that mean, and I find it can mean different things to different people, actually.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm curious what that means for you and your experience and with the people you work with.
So it's funny. I have been in the health and wellness space for many, many years now in many different capacities. But it has been primarily with the focus on healing the physical body.
Mm.
And what I've learned is healing is so much more than just our physical health that kind of just gets highlighted in the mainstream media. But after losing my physical health, along with my mental health, I really learned that physical health is truly just the doorway to every other bit of healing that we can access in our lives. And so without having the physical health, we truly cannot even anchor in more life force and vitality and truly just I think the embodied form of health that we truly all aspire to have, balanced emotionally, physically, spiritually, kind of just like the whole body healing. And so for me, with the emphasis being on the physical body in the beginning years of my journey, it's I had to kind of be led through my own initiations of kind of like taking what I thought I knew and kind of like allowing it to crumble as my body did, and allowing me to kind of rediscover health and vitality in a completely different way, in a much fuller way. But that for me was definitely kind of like that doorway access point to give me true health and by all sense of the word. And so through having physical health and by helping others anchor in better physical practices and just like learning how our body works, I think is being a student of ourselves, I think is the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves and other people. And just allowing that to be the foundation and the beginning point, but from that place allowing it to open up all of the doors to access the emotional body and the energetic body and the spiritual body, and how all of those are encompassed in our physical vessel. And it's like to know that it's like we were entrusted with this vessel to do so many great things. And without that, we can't even access those points and to share those gifts with ourselves and with those around us to anchor in healing collectively.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thanks, Andrea. I love that. Yeah, it sounds like our physical body is like the starting point doorway to access the other places, and also it's almost like this holding place for everything, right? It's like sounds like what you're saying is like our the emotional body, energetic body, and even our spirit when we're in this life. It's I mean, this is kind of where where it's happening. Right?
Absolutely. It's all
Yeah.
encompassed in this vessel. And, we do such a disservice to us, to ourselves, when we just get caught up on just the physical piece, on just the vanity piece, or on just like, again, I love the quote that I read once where it's like, a healthy person has a million dreams and a sick person has one.
Mm.
And it like really puts into perspective, like when you are in that place of it can feel like you're fighting your physical body, or almost in a sense like your body is failing you. And it's like, how am I even able to figure out the rest of my life if I can't even figure out this part? And so, again, just through my own experience and working with other people, you know, not taking that for granted, and also seeing what a gift and opportunity we have each day when we wake with breath in our lungs, and just kind of just doing the next right thing, no matter like what that means for you and kind of where you are in your own individual journey.
Wow. I'm thinking of a friend I have, a good friend who has chronic health challenges. And as you're saying, a sick person has like one dream, and it's like this. I'm just kind of resonating with hearing her experience, and just how that must be, where it's like if your physical body is not well, I mean that's kind of all you can work with. You gotta like work with that. It's like taking up all your all your attention, right?
And what a beautiful thing, right? Because it's like the body speaks. And so that speaks through anxiety, that speaks through overwhelm, that speaks through grief, that speaks through joy, tear, laughter. It communicates so many profound things when we are slowing down enough to listen. And unfortunately, a lot of people that have faced chronic illness, and myself included, it is all encompassing, and it is very draining, and it does take every bit of your energy, and because you can't escape it. And that's again another gift, but also a struggle. It's like we can't escape these physical vessels that we've been given, and to see them as loving us through these examples of experiencing symptoms. And again, it's just another way of your body communicating. It's not something to fear. It's not something to hate, to despise. But what I have learned is using symptoms as the language of the body to love more deeply. And it's kind of, when I was kind of forced to a place of surrendering, of like, I can't do all of this on my own. And I think that's where our connection to God and source and spirit comes into play here. Because again, like, a lot of chronically ill people find themselves bedridden a lot, and again alone and isolated a lot. And so again, it can kind of perpetuate this state of unhealthiness in all aspects of our life. And so kind of leaning into the body's wisdom, using those as guided tools to deeper listen and to love and to honor care. But then again, like that connection to God, and to know that like we are never in this alone, and that even when it feels like our body is at war against us, it is just trying to wake us up to something that needs our attention. And yeah, and I think that's just such an important piece of it, to know that we're not in alone, that we are connected to something so much bigger and something so much further outside of ourselves. But again, like when you're in pain, when you're bedridden, when you are facing chronically ill health issues on a daily basis, again, it's easy to be disconnected. It's easy to get distracted. And this is where it's so important to lean into healthy, safe, supportive community.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. So so I'm really interested in this whole sharing you have about how the body speaks and symptoms are speaking to wake us up. That feels like such like a different and empowering way of looking at like pain and challenge in the body, as opposed to like, what, this is wrong and bad, why is this happening, and why is this happening to me? And you can see all those kind of things that are understandable. I Can you speak more to that, of how the
Absolutely.
yeah.
My own journey was very humbling in this sense, because again, like, I was an athlete all of my life. Health has just become, it's very natural. It's been my outlet. It's been a big part of my life. And so when my health got to a place of like, I lost my physical health through a nervous breakdown, of like my mental health, my physical health, like everything was gone. I had relied on my physical health to work through my mental struggles. And when I no longer had that outlet and that consistency, it really brought me to the lowest place. Because again, like, I had always had my physical health. Even when my mental health would wane, I could rely on my body to hold me steady. And what I wasn't realizing is I was forcing myself through a lot of things. I was pushing through, I was living in a way totally out of alignment without even know that I was doing it because I had been doing it for so long and it felt so natural. And so again, it was just another way of my body kind of overriding all of these subtle signals. And so when that completely fell out, it was so easy for me to turn on my body. Like, why are you at war against me? I take care of you. Like, I love you. Like, all of these things. And I struggled with the stories surrounding it. And that's another piece that I find so interesting is when symptoms arise in the body and the stories that come with them. Because if we sit with them long enough, we can find that, man, those are so deeply rooted and those have been around much longer than I thought. And wow, those have been impacting me and my day to day far more than I ever thought. Because again, like I was just living on the go. And so it really invited me into this deep initiation of deeply loving myself in a way that I had never before because I had to meet myself in a way that I had never had to. And so the only way for me to bring myself up out of that was again to get really curious. And so I really out of the anger piece and the grieving piece became a very it's kind of sparked this curiosity in me of like, okay, if what I'm doing has never worked and like same playbook is not applying here, I have to do it different. And so I just got very curious on the symptoms. And this is where I was so grateful for social media at the time because I couldn't put a lot of words to the things I was experiencing and other people I was stumbling upon that could and were doing these daily practices of just like dropping more deeply into the body. And so it was super subtle but it allowed me to learn that our muscle and our fascia and our tissue and the water that is flowing through our body, it all holds vibration. It all holds resonance and stories and different emotions. And so this is where it's like you can't look at the physical body without looking at the emotional and the energetic body. And for me, it wasn't until I started integrating these other aspects of my actual body that I had been neglecting for years that I really began to see transformation in my physical health. And so again, it was allowing those symptoms to be the window into the internal state that I could not contextualize in my mind because again, it was a whole other aspect of my body that I had never even known existed. And so this is where using those subtle cues through the body truly allowed my body to lead me through my healing. My body allowed me, to kind of lead me into what practices were best at the time. Like I could no longer lift weights and do long runs and all of these intense workouts that I once did. And it's like because my body was craving space in such a different way. And so yoga was the only form of movement that I could physically participate in. And that then unlocked a whole other journey within my body. It got me practicing breath work. It got me, leaning into modalities that I had never done before. And they were all practices that got me more deeply connected to my body.
Wow. That feels like that's like the somatic path and approach is just like start with the body and let that guide
Absolutely.
you and teach you. And
And
yeah,
it's so much easier to embody it that way because then you're not trying to drop something from the head knowledge into the body in more of a foreign way. The most natural way for us is to allow the body to lead us. But how distrusting we are of our bodies, and the stories, the narratives that we've been fed throughout our lives. I mean, I know they're different for all of us, but, and especially as a woman, it can be very hard to trust your physical body through the ever evolving changes and whatnot. So yeah, it's been very enlightening. It's been very humbling, but all in all, it's been the greatest gift of my life.
wow, that's so inspiring. Yeah. Oh, Andrea. Okay. Let's see. I had some other questions here I wanted to look at. Yeah, I'm really interested because some of the work that I do is with inquiry, which is basically questioning these stories. And they could be, I do it in a very general way. It could be about your body. It could be about your coworker. It could be about life, just questioning stories that we have. And I'm really curious about how you kind of look at that, where these stories that come around the symptoms, because yeah, I can totally see how that can come into play. It's not just, well, there's this thing in my body and that's it. It's like there's something story, probably something from the past, probably stuff that you didn't even realize has nothing to do with this symptom at all. I'm curious what you have to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, what I've learned through my own experience and for my husband and I both, because man, when you go through so many changes, I mean, people around you, in a sense, have to change and evolve as well. And we have really had to come a long way in our communication skills. And this has been a really interesting topic in our conversations between my husband and I of like the stories that come up and almost like fact checking them. And so I got introduced to a program called Break Method a few years ago. And it is an incredible program, but it's all about like rewiring the brain on a subconscious level of challenging those patterns that have been imprinted into our being, into the way we operate and navigate in the world. And this one example that was used in that brain rewiring is almost like a judge courtroom type setting, and almost like you presenting the evidence and then seeing like what supportive evidence you have for that particular story.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so this has been really helpful for me because I have been able to look at the bad and find all of the evidence of why it should be. And so in this process of like rewiring, it's like almost flipping the script and like being on my side. And so it's kind of like presenting the story, sitting with it, seeing if I can get curious of like where it is maybe tied to or deeply rooted. And maybe it is something that was said to me as a child or, something along those lines. But, and if it is, of course, very easy and identifiable, I will sit with that and I'll journal and I will kind of not rush myself through that process. But if it is something that I'm like, okay, this is just a nagging thing and I don't really know where this is tied, but it is just very prevalent in my everyday life, I go to that courtroom and I'm like, okay, instead of like seeing all of the bad and seeing how all of this makes sense, it's almost flipping the script and like, how is this showing up to show me something different? So it's like, it may be the same story, but how can I look at this from a different angle and like give the pros in a sense, or the good, or almost just like in that courtroom setting of like putting up against my facts. And it's like, well, you know what? Like, even though I used to think this way and operate like this, like, no, look at all of this other evidence in my life that is showing I am trustworthy because I did follow through on X, Y, and Z or whatever. It's like, I kind of go to the offense for myself. And so it's definitely not easy. But again, when I have adapted this slower paced lifestyle, it allows the thinking to slow. It allows me to catch those stories a little bit sooner. And it allows me like, where do I need to go with this? Is this something that I do need to spend time on and sit with in meditation? Or is this something that like, I need to just take straight to the courtroom and just like rebuttal this and move on with my life? So it's kind of, for me, that's my kind of two internal processes as like different stories present themselves and me being able to choose like kind of that fork in the road. It's like, if I slow things down long enough, I can choose a different way. But when I am living out of alignment in that faster paced life that is not supportive of so many parts of me, that's when I can like easily fall into those loops and traps. And so again, it's another way for me to check myself like, okay, what's the pace of my life? Am I living with intention? Am I being reactive to life as it comes to me? Or am I intentionally co-creating my life? And so the stories are just a good way to kind of navigate that and to see that everything truly is always happening for me. And that's another saying I literally repeat to myself day in and day out, even in the most uncomfortable situations. It's like, this is happening for me. And it's interesting because it literally changes the vibration of your cells. Like I say that and I allow that to wash over me and it shifts things. And, it's kind of like, where can I just get out of the way and surrender into, again, more of that body wisdom, into that deeper truth, into that, like, that inner knowing, that true intuition that is truth. It isn't the program stories and the different narratives that we have kind of crafted for ourselves or have been placed on us.
Wow. Right. 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 Oh, I love the fact checking. I love just fact checking. Take it to the courtroom. It's like, well,
Yeah.
let's actually just look at this and let's see what's really going on, instead of just whatever happens. Yep, you just go with that. You just believe whatever happens in your
Or this is always what happens to
This is
me, or
always
it's
happened
like,
to me.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Check it out. I love that. And yes, and how the physical vessel is like, I wanted to touch on this earlier. Like, it seems easy and spirit. It's really interesting. It sounds like the way I'm understanding is that you kind of came to these other aspects of the body, like the energy body and emotional body, kind of through the physical first. And I know sometimes some people go to the spiritual and the kind of energetic stuff, and then they don't like the physical. They're like, "What's this all about?" I just sometimes speaking to myself here, to be honest. But
yeah,
well, what's this physical stuff about? I just want to, be with spirit and be happy. What's this all about? I like how it's like, it sounded like you're almost saying it's like one body, actually. It's not like there's this physical body here, and now there's this energy body here, and there's this emotional body here, and then mental here, and then spiritual here. And oh, it's like, it sounds like it's one continuum or something. If you have anything else to say about
absolutely.
that, yeah, it's like,
Absolutely. I,
yeah.
I see it all encompassing as one body. And even though, yes, spatially, our energetic body is going to exceed out of our physical body.
Mhm.
But when we think about living from kind of just through the energetic and the spiritual body, and you think about that, again, it's still keeping you so disconnected and from the purest way to experience life on earth. Because you think about it, like, we will go on to be spirit long after these physical bodies decay away. And so you think about thinking, like, okay, my soul chose to come here to walk this earth for this human earth life experience. And so it's almost doing a disservice if you're not anchoring into the body. And if you also think about ac- accessing so much of the spiritually energetics of our body, it also quite possibly is not even able to physically land in the body, depending on how we're operating spiritually and energetically. From a frequency perspective, our physical vessel, if it is only able to hold certain frequencies and densities and whatnot, you think about that. And there's this whole other aspect of our life, of the energetic body and the spiritual body and the emotional body and all of that. And it's like, if we don't integrate them into one, it's kind of like how I operated before. It was like I was only operating in the physical without all of this other aspect. And it was like such a half version of this life experience. And so it's almost thinking of like, if we feel so confident, secure, and stable in these other parts of our body, but not in our physical body, like, what kind of story is that saying,
Huh. Right.
And what kind of invitation would that be to trusting your physical body more deeply and receiving all of these other parts of your body that are so much you, that want to be integrated into the physical body, right? Because, like, not one part wants to be separated from the other. And so if they are, how they could kind of be a conflict of one another through our subconscious, through our stories, with the way we navigate the world. So
Wow.
just something to think about.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Just like that could be its own story of like, oh, what's this body about, this physical
Mm-hmm.
body, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
Like,
like,
I don't want to fully inhabit this earth setting. Like, I don't
yeah,
trust this.
yeah.
This isn't secure. This isn't stable. It's just interesting. So again, like, this is where it's like, it's such an incredible experience to be a student of ourselves, because what a gift, like, just to be so curious um and to know that at the end of the day, those revelations benefit us, And so we're always like, as we go on this quest, like, we don't only stumble upon parts of ourselves that we've lost along the way, but just it illuminates every part of us that we're meant to be here and inhabit this body to begin with. And so, yeah, I think it's just so necessary to integrate all of those parts into one whole body.
Wow. And it's so, it seems like, it's like no accident. That's the only way I can like describe it. It seems like it's no accident that like when you look at a human body, even just the physical part, like, wow, like that's amazing. Like what's going on there? That's not random at all, obviously. But then also like this energetic body that like the chakra system and channels and et cetera. And then emotions, how emotions work in the body. It's like, there's something here that's not ordinary. That's kind of like, that has a purpose behind it. It feels like there was something meant for this. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. Even like in all of the conditions, even I think it's so fascinating just thinking about even when we're in our mother's womb and we are in her structured water in her body. And to know that even in the very beginning of our life, that we were also impacted by our moms and her emotional body, her energetic body, her physical body, and also how like those also it's not random. It is also so necessary for your own soul and your life path. It's like from the very beginning of our days that it's like even the life and the family we were born into, like all of it was so on purpose in the way we come into the world, the beginning days of our life. Again, like the people that are around us to raise us, like it is no accident. So it's like it's given me such a beautiful relationship when I look at the dynamic in all of these life experiences that had to be exactly as they were. And it had to be in the sequence it was for us so individually for our life's purpose. And it's like it couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't.
There,
You know?
there's truth and acceptance and surrender, right? It's like that, and
Exactly.
reality. That's just reality.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, we can get stuck in a victim consciousness in so many different ways, with things done to us or choices we've made or whatnot, and all of these stories that can plague us. And at the end of the day, it's like, but what stories do you want to operate from now and co creating those to be what you want?
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Okay, let's see. Where do I want to go? We have a little bit of time left. We'll have to start wrapping up fairly soon. But there is something that I did want to ask about and kind of tie it into, like, I guess the general question is, what kind of advice or even like methods or practices or just anything that you can give to people to support people who do have a lot of challenge in their body and they need some support with, okay, they do have that suffering or that pain, that illness in their body now, right now. What can you give to help them even when that's there, if there's something that's they can have some support even while they're there. And then I kind of have like a specific question under that umbrella question, which is like, because it's something I'm interested in too, is like finding peace in the body. And that's just the word I use, like peace or just like okayness or spaciousness. So like anything you have to share about someone's got a lot of hard stuff in their body and it's not enjoyable. And how can they still be in there? Yeah. Yeah.
I will say it's not an easy, direct answer.
Mhm.
And if I were someone receiving this, it would maybe be hard to hear because I've been there.
Yeah.
But it's about sitting with each sensation, getting really curious,
Hmm.
and offering so much love.
Mm.
And it's almost like you can even fake it till you make it. And for me, because everybody's situation is so unique, but that is going to be the most profound thing that you can do. And a lot of times, sometimes it is just putting your hands over your heart or a specific place in the body that needs TLC and truly just breathing, being present with the sensation, asking, getting curious, like, what is this connected to? help me find answers, help me sit in the discomfort. I think presence, then again, the body will always speak. And it can seem so random. It can seem like, oh, well, why did I just have that thought? And it's absolutely your intuition. But I think that is definitely the most profound thing. And to follow up to that, I think, again, is our connection to something outside of ourselves. And I think, my relationship with God has definitely taken some twists and turns throughout the years. And my nervous breakdown was such a destabilization to my faith and just my view of God in general. But again, it was the beautiful crack open because everything that I believe now is so much more authentic and true and resonates so deeply for me. And again, I had to remember my own way. And so I think a big part of this conversation is truly about us remembering. I believe that we were born purposely not knowing things so we could be on the quest throughout our life to remember our sovereignty, our divinity, our oneness with God, the creator, with Mother Earth, with all living things. And those two things coupled together, I think, are truly the catalyst for all healing. Being present, being curious, offering love and support, and connecting to God outside of ourselves to know that we are never alone, even when it feels like our physical body's failing us or our world is falling in around us. That, again, in all of this discomfort, there is someone that has us in his hands, that nothing takes him by surprise. And we are truly here to remember, and we are here to have it all, to truly inhabit heaven here on earth. I believe that. But first, we anchor that in the body. We do that by, again, staying truly present in ourselves, remaining authentic to ourselves. And from those places, everything else becomes more accessible and a lot easier, because we're not in it alone. We're not just relying on ourselves, and that's part of this remembering story.
Oh, wow. Andrea, so much wisdom. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I love that. Well, I just wanted to say, yeah, thank you, Andrea, for being here. This is so inspiring for me. I'm taking lots of notes to contemplate, even just for myself and my own journey. And Andrea is a wonderful healer. I've done a session with Andrea, and it was very heart opening. She was able to just take me right from where I was at the beginning, what I was what state I was in, what I was looking for, and then just guide me through and some energy healing and took me to a place of receiving more love. So definitely recommend checking her out. All her ways of contacting her and getting in contact for her work will be in the description for this podcast, so you can check it out. And yeah, thanks so much for being here, Andrea. It's been a
Thank you so much for having me, Jordan. It's been such a pleasure and an honor chatting with you. I could literally do this all day. So thank you so much.
Me too. Thanks, Andrea.
See ya.
Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us in this interview with Andrea. Please do check the podcast description where you can learn more about the work that she does and the various ways you can get in contact with her. And also just want to remind you that this podcast is listener supported. That just helps us to keep the podcast going with your support, your monthly donations, and you can do that for as little as $3. So we really do appreciate that, so we can keep the momentum going. And we're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.